Welcome back in Morning Kickaround. Amongst the big, busy news on Tuesday, January 27th, the release of the schedule for the first round of the 111th edition of the U.S. Open Cup was released. We are going to kick it all off this year on March 17th. And I got to say, there is some intriguing matchups here in this first round.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a lot of pro versus amateur, which is what we like, right? I know the ultras and those watching on YouTube are probably most excited about some of these big teams facing off against small amateur clubs or clubs maybe that you haven't even heard of. I mean, Rob, for example, I'm looking down the list here. I see Detroit City FC at Keyworth Stadium in Hamtramck, Michigan will face off against the Michigan Rangers, who I've never heard of. Never heard of the Michigan Rangers. Don't know who that is.
So that's one of the magic things of the Cup. You got to do a little bit of Google eyes to find some of these opponents. But Michigan Rangers, in my mind, that is a rebranded of an old youth team on the west side of Michigan, a place called Hudsonville, which I'm sure is buried under feet and feet of snow right now. But yeah, I'll have to look up what amateur side or what amateur league they're in on the senior side. But in my mind, that's a youth team. Oh, Michigan Rangers. Thank you, Chris, our USL2 and summer amateur specialist in the MK Ultras. Chris, they are NPSL
Central Region. Yeah, that's it. So obviously, lots of people are going to. So, like, this is the whole list. I don't know that we need to go through all of these, but I do think people are going to be obviously attracted to on March 17th, Vermont Green FC USL2 champions up against the Portland Hearts of Pine, the darlings of USL League One, into their second year here in 2026. That game at Virtue Field in Burlington. It does say Burlington. I think that's a typo from U.S. Soccer, but Burlington, Vermont. A game that will be on Paramount Plus and CBS Sports Network. And you can see, this is a screenshot from the U.S. Soccer website with all these games. You can see that all the games will be available somehow, some way, YouTube for most of them, but there are certain games that are being highlighted to be broadcast on Paramount Plus, CBS Sports, Golazo Network, that kind of stuff. So exciting times for that. So we got I don't know what else from this section, because we got a lot of games. So this is only part of it. What stands out for you, Rob, on this page?
Well, what you said, I mean, the most popular USL2 team versus the most popular USL1 team is definitely the headliner, the Vermont versus the Portland Hearts.
Yeah, it's a little hipster special, isn't it? It's a little
I was like, was this a random draw where you got the two most popular USL teams together? But there are definitely a number of interesting ones. Rhode Island FC, they are playing against a team that we will have to Google, CD Fialense. I don't know why I put myself in the position to try to pronounce that name.
I would guess that is a team based in the Portuguese community up there in probably Rhode Island. I don't know where Fialense is based or whatever. I do say Richmond Kickers versus Northern Virginia FC. I can't remember where Northern Virginia FC plays. I'm in Northern Virginia. I think they play out in the exurbs a little bit. Northern Virginia FC, that game at City Stadium in Richmond, Virginia, home of the Richmond Kickers. Indy 11 versus Des Moines Menace is also on Paramount Plus. That's an interesting one.
I think that's interesting. The pro versus amateur, but will Des Moines pull out the ring? Will they pull out the ringers again?
Are we getting the ringers this year? Where's Sasha? Can we get Sasha on the phone? Sasha Kleshtin got some ringers together for Des Moines Menace last year. All right, we're going on because people are missing some teams. There's 3 pages of this, people, so just bear with us here as we work through this. Chattanooga FC versus Kalanji Pro Profile. Now, most people, I'm guessing, haven't heard of Kalanji Pro Profile. I have, because I know that they are a UPSL national finalist in recent years. They're out of Atlanta, Georgia. That's an interesting one to me, playing at Finley Stadium in Chattanooga. I know they've had some pretty good players, Kalanji Pro Profile. Let's see, Charleston Battery versus Badgers FC. I'm going to have to look up Badgers FC, find out where they play. That's an interesting one. FC Motown out of Northern New Jersey.
Versus Hartford. Yeah, that'll be a good one.
And that game in New Jersey, not in Hartford. So that's an advantage to FC Motown, which I think is Sasir Hot. I think he is involved. Or was involved in FC Motown. I have to check on them. Little Rock Rangers, FC Tulsa. I do love a matchup between a pro team and a team that definitely feels like it's got a a youth club name like ASC New Stars in San Antonio down there on March 18th.
We've got the Badgers, and we've got that one. There's definitely some of the youth team names rising to the senior level here. But there's a game on March 18th, which pits one of the Open Cup darlings of the last recent years to one of the lower league, most accomplished. I think that another headline, the second day of this first round, is Sacramento Republic versus El Farolito.
Yeah, okay. I'm not there yet. There's some more March 18th games. So Sacramento versus El Farolito. Yeah, El Farolito out of San Francisco, Sacramento Republic, obviously in the California capital, and a pro team at the USL championship level. AV Alta involved here down there in Lancaster against a team called Valley 559. Ventura County Fusion, which has a long history in amateur soccer, hosting Spokane Velocity there in Ventura, California. Let's see. New Mexico gets Cruisers FC, which I'm not aware of. And then here's the March 19th game. So we have 17th, 18th, and 19th. This one got mentioned in the Discord. Carolina Core versus Virginia Dream. The Virginia Dream plays down the road from me, maybe 10 minutes from my house.
All right, we need all the MK Ultras. I put this in the Discord. We got to bully this man into going to this game.
I got to look and see what the life calendar looks like for March 19th to make it down to High Point, North Carolina, which is probably at least an 8-hour drive. At least. I got to check on, maybe not. Maybe it's 7.
It's not local to you at all.
No, it's in High Point, North Carolina.
Okay, there you go.
That
changes everything. I saw Virginia Dream, and I was like, you got to go.
Our guy Zach wants me to go down to High Point, and I would go, but I gotta. That's a bigger lift than going 10 minutes down the road to watch them play at Annandale High School. I'm just saying.
All right, so we're all pulling for Virginia Dream to win on the road to then possibly get a home game for
maybe.
For you.
Sure. That's sure. Flint City Bucks and Ford Madison in
That's an interesting one. Yeah, that's because that's at an alternative location. That is not at the home of the Flint City Bucks, Atwood Stadium in Flint. So I'm assuming that's a college. Maybe they couldn't get their venue. So welcoming Ford Madison, I think I will again check the personal calendar. But going to see Ford Madison here in Michigan, I think is well worth the trip to Grand Blanc, which is about 45 to 60 minutes away from me. So
Grand Blanc. It's not Grand Blanc. It's Grand
Blanc.
No,
it's that Midwestern thing of like Indian or Native American names and French names just being absolutely slaughtered here in the Midwest.
Yeah.
I'm being told. It's not Grand
Blanc. I'm being
Blanc.
told by Armando that it's 5 hours to High Point from Northern Virginia. Now I'm going to not give you my exact address, but I am going to do the directions here over in Google Maps to see if I can. I'm not promising anything, okay? Tell my wife, hey, I got to go down to High Point, North Carolina. What day of the week is March 18th, by the way, or whatever that?
March 19th. I'm assuming it's midweek because we should note that this is 19th, the smallest version of the Open Cup. Due to the withdrawal or the pullback from USL and MLS due to the FIFA World Cup window. So it is the smallest field, but they seem like they have definitely juiced some of these matchups to make the early rounds as exciting as possible. March 19th is a Thursday. And so I guess I should have looked a little closer at the venue before I started this pressure campaign with you to go to the Virginia Dream. So I apologize for that, but
you should apologize. You should apologize. No, just kidding.
I will go to Grand Blanc as punishment on the.
I would love to go. I really would. It's 4 hours and 50 minutes from my house right now. Now, obviously, we're post morning rush hour traffic and pre-afternoon rush hour traffic in the DC metropolitan area. So I don't know how much longer it might be if I had to leave during rush hour. And, that's also a work day. I got other things besides morning kick around that I do that might require my day.
Right.
Would love to go. But it's gonna be tough. But obviously I'll be rooting for Virginia Dream, which is my local team. There are actually a couple of teams that have entries into, NPSL, UPSL in my area, but this is a team obviously that's made the US Open Cup, which is a huge deal. It's a massive, massive thing. And congratulations to them for reaching that level Anything else stand out for you, Rob, from this U.S. Open Cup? As you said, it's scaled down because we've had some of the pro teams pull out. USL's not interested entering all their teams this time around, just like MLS. But what else stands out for you as we talk U.S. Open Cup?
I'm just excited that this amount of, amateur teams, we had a little bit of a joke, in just lighthearted fun that there's some like kind of youth teams, elevating to play against some pro teams. And I just say kudos to them for entering into the US Open Cup. There's some, traditionally with the schedule changing around, the amateur teams don't always have their first selection of players, and kudos to them for qualifying and for just participating in it, because it isn't always work with the calendar. Especially, I was surprised to see the Flint in there, and there's a couple others that I know are probably going to have an alternative set of players to be here. But that's all I got to say. It's definitely an interesting, different version of the tournament. But at least this first round from March 17th to 19th, we're going to get some unique matchups that we haven't seen before. Like Ford Madison coming to Michigan, hasn't happened.
Chris is saying that he doesn't think this was USL that decided not to enter all its pro teams, that this is a U.S. Soccer, U.S. Open Cup decision, which is very possible. And I'll admit that among some other things happening in the world of soccer, that has not been my focus in trying to drill down on why the U.S. Open Cup has been sort of limited. I mean, once MLS, who we know made the decision not to enter all their teams, I will say that unfortunately it has drawn down my enthusiasm for the Open Cup. It has made the Open Cup not nearly as exciting and attractive and fun for me to think about as a competition that matters. I don't know that that's fair. I mean, and we could still have a compelling U.S. Open Cup. I shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I'll admit that that's been a thing for me. And I imagine a lot of people have kind of been in that same space, right? I know that there are defenders of the cup who would say, so wrong for MLS to treat it this way, and don't want to turn their back on the tournament because of that. But there are going to be people that say, oh, with the Open Cup isn't the Open Cup anymore. It's not the same thing. Why would I care?
Why would you care? Indeed. But I mean, at least here at this period, when you're looking at these amateur versus pro matchups, that's exciting at the very least. But yeah, overall, it is what it used to be. And hopefully, I guess the big determining factor will be post World Cup. Does it return to regular participation? I think that's where we're really going to see which direction the Open Cup's going to be. Like 2027, is it going to be full force Open Cup? Are they going to reconfigure it? Will we see full participation? It's yet to be seen. And there's even more competition with the USL's internal league cup, being created recently, and only expanding with more teams there.
That's the
Champions
thing.
League, Leagues Cup, all that stuff.
Leagues Cup, Leagues Cup, Jägermeister Cup, which again I'm not positive about the future of that. I imagine it'll still continue, but the way that USL is working on their product, what does that mean for? It's not the Jägermeister Cup anymore. It's called something else. The Prinks, whatever that is. Okay, it's called that. And I was just thinking while you were talking there, we're talking about the U.S. Open Cup changing a bit. It's almost impossible because we're already at a point of saturation with fixtures and scheduling. I'm not just talking about pro teams. I mean, amateur teams struggle. Obviously, you have travel costs and all the things that go into that. You have player availability, which has come up. But man, I'm thinking about the FA Trophy over in England and how fun it might be. And obviously, you would have to be a sicko. You'd have to be a nerd. You'd have to be really into lower division soccer in America to care as much. But wouldn't it be fun to have a competition that allowed a lower division team to be crowned a champion, right? Forget MLS, maybe forget USL Championship, USL League One, and give us an opportunity to crown. I mean, it would be an amateur champion, obviously, but we don't have a united amateur trophy because we've got so many different leagues in the alphabet soup and the league, the league for clubs, NPSL, UPSL, NISA still wants to be a thing. Shout out to NISA there on my jersey.
State Amateur Association Cups.
Well, NISA's nominally pro, but I guess I got my wires crossed there. But I'm saying, what I'm saying. The FA Trophy is a trophy for teams that aren't Manchester United and Chelsea and Man City, right? It is that. And the FA Vase too. What level is the FA Vase? Shout out to George. I can't remember.
It's the FA Vaz, I'm sure.
It's not the face. It's the Midwestern guy who says blank. Can't say.
Come on down to Grand Blanc, Michigan, and watch a soccer match.
There is a movie called Gross Point Blank. I should have known that it's blank and not blanc. Yeah. And you guys, there's some French words up there. And
yeah,
like
I mean, there's never been, I think you might get egged if you say Detroit instead of Detroit.
Well, that is obviously one of them, but there's like streets when I remember going up there to see Detroit City and do shows.
Gratiot is one, and Lasser, and there's a few different ones like that.
Gratiot. What is happening right now? I mean, okay, yeah. You have to be local to understand.
Yeah, that's definitely a Detroit thing. We can mispronunciate all sorts of languages around here. But the worst mispronunciation of a French thing is in Chicagoland, Des Plaines. There's a place in Chicago, Des Plaines. That always kind of made my skin crawl a little.
At least they don't say Des Moines. They say Des Moines.
They try picking and choosing.
Yeah. Okay. A little bit of clarification on the vase, since we're saying vase, and the trophy. FA vase is for 5th and 6th steps. So tiers 9 and 10, that's way down there. We obviously don't delineate those levels. We don't have tiers 9 and 10, right? We're talking about just trying to figure out what the actual 4th division looks like in American soccer. So, but it would be cool. It would be cool to have something like that.
If you were to do an equivalent, I would say some sort of state associations, amateur state cups and all that could get grouped in with that sort of thing, perhaps, if you're talking about 9th and 10th tiers of a quote-unquote pyramid here as I slap the microphone. But big day here on the show. We talked USL Premier is official, kind of got a little bit of a timeline, a 28 launch, and an over-under of 5 to 10 years of actual, promotion and relegation being implemented. We got a look into the foundation from one of the co-founders of one of USL League One's expansion teams, AC Boise, of course, and then spotlighted some of those interesting and notable U.S. Open Cup, the 111th edition of the U.S. Open Cup. Some notable matchups there in the first round there in mid-March.
Yeah, so, okay. I guess there's a National Amateur Cup. I'm aware of that. It gets a spot in the Open Cup, according to Zach. Sorry, we're all clicking the same things. Maybe we're talking about something that feels as important as the Open Cup, but I guess that's impossible, right? That's part of the deal here. It's broadcasting, though. It's like visibility, and that's what we miss. And obviously, there's that question, that internal question of demand ahead of, of distributing the product, or do you distribute the product ahead of demand? It's a thing.
Chicken and the egg. So many kind of conversations where we're at is definitely a chicken and the egg sort of stories. Like, does the TV get lots of views because there's a habit formed, or vice versa? Don't put it on TV because, nobody knows about it, which comes first. But part of this Open Cup, I mean, they're all going to be available on YouTube, and some of these juicier matchups, including Indy 11 versus Des Moines on Paramount CBS, as well as that probably grandstand and the one in lights, the matchup in lights for the Open Cup, Vermont Green versus Portland Hearts of Pine, March 17th on Paramount/CBS Sports Network.